Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 176 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson.
And this is Mark Vila. And today we're here to talk about how to design a promotion or a sale for your business.
Yeah, it's it's something that isn't talked about that much. You can tell because this is episode 176, and I think it's the first time that we've talked about this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it seems simple enough that you just do it, right? And because we see promotions and sales all the time, right? How do you go on to get customers into your store? You tell them that Coca-Cola is buy one, get one free, and then people will come in.
And, it's also part of, it's more part of, like, we talk about, how to write a good email marketing, how to do good email marketing, and there's promos in that. How to do Facebook marketing or Facebook ads, and there's, it's basically a promo in that. So it's really, normally we talk about it as a subset of marketing, when really we should give it the attention it deserves.
It does deserve some attention. And I'll say that some businesses thrive off of promotions because of where they're located or who their customer base is or how people expect to shop for those items. And other businesses really don't benefit from promotions, and it's not necessarily a good use of their time. But in your business out there, it's definitely worth the effort if you're trying to grow your business to give promotions a shot, to give sales a shot, and see if you can benefit from this with your market. And I actually have a good example I thought of with that.
Okay.
Maybe, I'm sure you know this story.
Does it have to do with a biker bar?
I'll let you find out as I tell it. Okay. Okay. So I don't remember names, so you can just forgive me. This was a while back, and this is something that came to memory while we were starting the show. But J.C. Penney had a new either CEO or business development executive of sorts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, a guy from Apple went to J.C. Penney. They thought they were going to save it.
And they went to J.C. Penney, and the big thing they were going to do is just advertise good prices everywhere, that you can walk into J.C. Penney and just everything is the price that it is, and it's a good price. Yeah. And it probably was a good price. I bet they had polos for like $12,
Yeah.
But the problem is that they were located in malls, and the brand of shopping in malls and the competition around them is you go into a mall and there's a bunch of expensive stuff, and then there's sale sections that are 50% off, and people feel really good that they're getting this $25 shirt, or their shirt for $25. It's normally $50. Mm-hmm. But the whole secret is that almost nobody is buying them when they're $50.
Right.
Everyone's buying them when they're half off. So that sale and promo business thrived in malls. And it didn't work for J.C. Penney, and they went back. And they are still in business. I don't know how they're doing.
They are, but that guy's not in charge anymore.
I don't think he's in charge anymore. But the thing, that's an example of promotions not working and working for certain businesses.
Yeah, and I like your comment about, basically if you go into, you're trained to look for sales in malls. Right. So when you're in a mall, if you are not going, it's like if you are familiar, it's got to be 15 or 20 years ago now, with the Saturn brand of cars.
Yes.
They were the first ones to come out with just like, it's a no negotiations. It's just one price. And they didn't do that well because people have been conditioned to go in and negotiate a price on a car. Right. And even though it says one price in their advertising, no one believed them.
Nobody believed them. And it took a company like CarMax to disrupt the market and really promote that idea. Yeah. And push it and work on promoting the idea. And then CarMax quickly became a leader in the used car market by offering a fair price per se, and non-negotiating and changing the way you buy cars. I believe that maybe even is their slogan.
You know what? I think that one of the reasons that CarMax was so successful is because even though they didn't run discounts on their cars, they still had tons of promotional material that came out. They still did a lot of advertising, and they did flyers and postcards, and they did some TV stuff. They did radio stuff. So they were using promotions without applying the discount. As a matter of fact, they were promoting the idea that they're not giving discounts. Like, this is the best price.
So which I think is probably a distinction we should make from the beginning here, is that you can talk about a promotion of something where you're specifically going to discuss a particular product that you would like customers to buy or inquire about. And then you could have a sale of something where the item or that you're promoting is discounted to some degree, or the sale is discounted. So as we talk about this, we'll probably bounce back and forth. So we'll do our best to make sure we say words like sale or promotion to help discuss some of those things. But it is a really good point, is they promoted an idea at CarMax that it was a one price place, and conversely, how with the JCPenney example, was they weren't promoting sale items like Macy's were, and Macy's was continually beating them in the malls because they were promoting the sale. So let's just go into how to create or design a promo or a sale. And then at the end of this, we're going to talk about measuring your success and to see if you should kind of repeat and do the same thing, or if you should try something different, or how it works for you.
I do want to stop and put in a very important kind of definition here for all the Gen Zers. A mall is a place where they used to keep all the stores. It's like one building that they put all the stores in. There you go. That's it.
Now it's a place where they have farmers markets and car shows.
That's right. And disappointment frequently.
Disappointment.
A lot of disappointment.
I went and I hung out at the mall. I told you about how my daughter had a birthday party.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't too close to my house. So I just decided to, I just went to the mall, and I went to the bookstore.
Yeah.
In real life, not Amazon. Right. It was
you
fun.
You can pick up books and look at them. Yeah.
Had a lot of fun. I bought a coffee.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Not a book. I ended up buying the book off Amazon because it was like 30% cheaper.
Okay, this is more fodder for what we're talking about.
I felt bad about doing it, but I was like, I'm not going to pay $30-something for this book when I can get it for $19.99 on Amazon.
Hey, they made more. They made more on the coffee. They made more on the coffee.
But I did buy a coffee. No snacks though. I was trying to avoid the sugar. Yeah. But anyway.
I think like all these conversations, actually, like JCPenney's and CarMax and Saturn and all that stuff, really are examples of companies that did or did not really know their audience based on what happened in the end, right? So one of the first things that you have to figure out when you're looking at your business in general, but in specific, when you're looking at what you want to sell or put on promotion, is who are you going to sell it to? I mean, if you haven't figured out who your audience is yet, then you should pause for a second and work out, kind of who are you talking to? Because when you create a promotion or you create a sale, that's the fundamental question. Like, I'm not going to, hey, BOGO on onesies, and you're doing it at a convention of people that don't have children.
Right. That's a really, and we've talked about it in plenty of other examples before. I think even an episode or two ago, we were talking about how we even mentioned some sales and promotions and some upsells. And we were talking about that if your customer base was like people who ride motorcycles, offering a free hat very well could be a good promotion for them. Right. Because you often see people wear motorcycles, wear a hat. Why? Because your hair gets really messed up while you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And you can cover it. Compared to offering them a 10% off coupon might not be something that type of person's really that interested in. They're not going to be as excited about carrying the coupon to bring to you later as they may be to get a free hat with their logo on it or something.
Yeah, that's good. So, got to know your audience.
Knowing your audience. So we could talk about what we could talk about here is a little bit about how do you define your audience, and then we'll come up with a couple examples, and we can carry those examples out throughout this promotional idea process.
Okay, that sounds good.
So just to kind of start on that in the first place, in regards to coming up with your audience or your avatar, or it's a vision of a sample ideal customer that you might have. So if you could one exercise to do would be to say, describe your perfect customer.
Mm-hmm.
What would they be? Right. So if my business, if I start thinking about my business, I may say, okay, it's a parent with a child in elementary or middle school. Mom and dad, either they both have pretty good jobs, or maybe just mom or dad work. And they have a higher income job. They live in a nice community in a single family home.
Yep.
They have 2 kids. They both drive pretty reasonable, nice cars, but not Lamborghinis, but maybe somewhere between a Camry and a Lexus range.
Okay.
And they really care about participating with their children at school and in after school activities, and daughter's in dance and son is in Little League.
Yeah. I love,
that's my avatar.
I love how detailed that is. The only thing I would do in addition is I would give them names.
Okay.
I would be like, it's Tom and Gina.
Really, it's Eduardo.
It's Eduardo and
it's
Lisa.
Eduardo. He goes by Ed. Sometimes Eddie. In college, he went by Eddie.
I like
but he
that.
decided after college he was just going to go by Ed because he didn't think it was as mature enough. But even his buddies at work still call him Eddie.
Yeah, and he wears stupid hats. He wears just like, nobody will tell him that he's too old to wear these hats. So, but like the point is valid, is the more descriptive that you get, and this is just the way I do things, the more that when you create something or you write something that you're talking to a person in a specific situation, the clearer everything afterwards gets.
Right.
So like in Mark Vila's example, you're talking like, who is your audience? They're, Tom and Gina, have 2 kids, a 12-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl, and he plays baseball and she goes ice skating. They drive a Camry and she drives a Lexus SUV.
White.
She identifies as a soccer mom.
Yeah.
They watch.
Has to be a white Lexus, by the way.
Yes, of course.
Very specific.
Do they make other colors? So like, but you're building this profile and you start to figure out like, what do those people buy?
Right.
How do they shop for things?
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's important to be, it is important to be detailed on this. And sometimes certain details matter and they don't. So you really have to decide this for you, right? If you live in a particular like Hispanic area, and that, and you're involved in the Hispanic community, and my father was, so he specifically, part of his avatar was Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
Or first or second generation immigrant. Right. So these are things that you can consider in your avatar too. Other times you may say, well, the race or national origin really doesn't matter for mine, as long as they're into motorcycles.
Right. Yeah. Or it may be like let's say there's, an alternative avatar is going to be somebody in a blue collar worker in a small town. Maybe he's an electrician's assistant, or she's an electrician's assistant. Her dad was an electrician. She's not married, but she's got one like 4-year-old little girl. She is, just trying to make ends meet, but occasionally splurges on things for her daughter.
Okay.
Like that's where she spends her money. She drives a crappy truck, but her kid has brand new shoes and pretty dresses and, things like that. So,
and that's important. And that's important to her. Right.
Yes.
I get it. So, that's the example you're going for.
Yep.
So we're doing small town blue collar worker, and we'll doing like a local parent of elementary or middle school kids, just to shorten those up. And the reason why you do this is whenever you're thinking of your promotional ideas, or sales or whatever they are, you're going to say, would Eddie and his wife, I've not given her a name, we'll call her Maria.
Okay.
Would Eddie and Maria, she goes by Mary sometimes, that her grandma called her Mary, so she, it's sentimental for her. So sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
Eddie and Mary, they would they like this promotion? That's the question you ask, is if I showed this to Eddie and Mary, would they like it? Would they want to act on it? Would they call me?
Yeah.
And that's kind of your mental litmus test of it works. Now, we all know that not everybody is the same, and it's really hard to put somebody into one definition, right? But when you use that as a test and you say, would this resonate with blue collar single mom? Yes, it would, because it's got all the features that she would look for. Fair price. Yeah. It's going to look amazing for her daughter. It's a little bit of a splurge thing, but it's going to make her feel great. All these things. Then that this is a good promotion. So that's kind of why it's important to know who your audience is.
Yeah. And just to get out of the way, I mean, if you live in a suburb, you share a lot of common characteristics with the people that live in your burg, right? You probably, if you're in a 3-2 house, everybody in that development lives in a 3-2 or a 4-2. Everybody drives, for the most part, a $30,000 to $50,000 import, right? They all have probably 1 or 2 kids. I mean, just when you think about your avatar, it would be weird if a single guy lived in a 4-2 in a suburban neighborhood. Right? You're not talking to that guy because he stands out. Like, you're talking to everybody that lives in that neighborhood. And that's what the local parents thing is. And that's what the, the electrician's assistant is, they're examples.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So the first exercise in this is knowing who your audience is, picking your audience. And by the way, if this can be more complex over time, meaning that you do have maybe 2 or 3 audiences or avatars that you sell to. But remember that there's 2 things that are going to happen. You're going to have promotions that can span across all of your avatars, which are much more generic. That's going to be Coke is buy one, get one free at the grocery store, because such a massive amount of people drink soda. It covers so many different avatars, compared to they had what Coke had, like a Starlight Diet Coke, I think was one, and it was in a fancy can, and it was a Coke Zero product, I believe. So that's a much lower subset, and the marketing was kind of for that, because that's not necessarily for the person who just wants a traditional Coke, right? But for now, we're going to focus on one. Your business may have 2 or 3 or more different avatars, but you want to kind of think about your promotions with individual avatars. It'll help them be more successful.
So let's move on to deciding what you're going to promote. And there's a lot of ways to do this. And the first one that comes to mind for some reason for us is always, what do we have a lot of inventory of? Because I remember, especially in the e-commerce business, Coleman & Company we release a lot of new products, and they're not all of them are terribly successful. So we may end up, buying, 500 light blue and green coffee mugs for sublimation. That's a terrible example. And they end up not selling very well. So we might want to try to sell through. So we put them on sale and we create a promotion for it.
Right. And so that's an extremely common one that you see. Other things are just something you want to sell more of.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a particular hat that you like to make. It sews out really well on your embroidery machines. You get a really good profit margin on it. And you like working with your embroidery machines because you can do a bunch of other stuff. So you've got some hands-on equipment like vinyl and sublimation where you're moving a lot.
Yep.
But you've also got your embroidery machine that you hit start and walk away. You'd like to sell more of those hats for all of those good reasons.
Yeah, I
And
love
that's
that.
something else. Yeah.
And it could also be that it's just super profitable. You know,
Mhm.
like you went through one of our business reviews, like we did for 2022, and you looked at the year before and figured out what were the most profitable deals. And maybe it's on, you know, left chest logo DTF polos that you sold a bunch of, and they're super profitable and they're easy to make. So you want to sell more of those.
Yep. That's great. You can also do on new products that you want to test out.
Yeah, I like that a
Uh,
lot.
yeah, you might see a new product advertised, or might have a new piece of equipment that you're working with. Maybe it's the first time you're working with sublimation and you haven't tried selling mugs or tumblers or mouse pads or something like that. Or it could be a new style of garment. You know, vapor apparel was something that recently came on to the Coleman and Company store.
Yeah.
And so maybe you say, well, this UV protection apparel, I think we could probably do pretty well within our market.
So that's a good example of kind of the difference between a promotion and something that you just want to promote. Like
Mm-hmm.
when most people think of a promotion, they think of putting something on sale, you know, or doing something financial. Where Vapor Apparel is a great example because it is a premium brand of sublimatable shirts,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And it's worth every penny. So we used it in a lot of our videos when we talk about sublimation. We talk about Vapor Apparel specifically for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's awesome. It's easy to work with, and it's a good product for us to sell. We don't promote it as a BOGO, right? Because we want to sell more of it. We just talk about it more and feature it in the things that we do.
Yeah, and that's a bit of earlier, right? We're talking about like promotions versus sales and things like that. So
Yep.
so they're going to definitely to reiterate this concept. When you're deciding what to promote, it may be something that you want to sell at a lower price to bring business in, or it may be something that has particular features like the UV protection apparel, right? It's a little more money, but it's got unique features. It might be something that you can sell really cheap, so you can offer it at a very low price. It might be very profitable for you, so you just want to talk to people about that product more, right? You
Yeah.
just might want to just promote it more because it's profitable for your business. And of course, the great thing is if it's all three,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's beautiful. But and then there was one more thing that you wrote down here, Mark, which is a good one, was seasonal items that just make sense.
Yeah. So if you and I like this for two reasons. Not that I enjoy doing seasonal promos. I'm famous for not enjoying seasonal promos. But if you are, it's two things. If you're trying to get more people's attention to your business, just in general, and the
Mm-hmm.
4th of July is coming up, if you have related products, it makes sense for you to talk about the 4th of July in any promotions that you do
Mm-hmm.
and use it as an excuse to launch promotions.
Right.
So it's the combination of, hey, we'd like to sell more of these dark blue fuzzy bunny ear hats, that we have in inventory. I bet I can, if I sew an American flag on the front, it can automatically be my 4th of July promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm getting some attention on my products in general, and I'm moving something that I've got in inventory.
Yep. Yep. And we have sublimation flip flops as an example.
Yes.
This is a particularly good time for a business to say, summer's coming. Get yourself some flip flops. You can put your dog's face on them. I mean, it's kind of weird, but you could.
No, and there's 100% chance that Hannah and Jess will put their dog's face on sublimatable flip flops now. If you've seen any of our videos, you know
yeah.
that the two marketing gurus that do most of our videos now, they have dogs and they're not shy about putting them on everything.
Yeah.
So flip flops, yeah,
yeah. Well, I think that all of this is just great stuff. to kind of get back on track because I got lost in the dog foot
on the dog flip-flops.
Yeah, I want to
so
print
promotional
that
types.
I have an idea. I want to print that shoe size thing, the metal thing you used as a kid to test your shoe size.
Yes.
I want to print that on flip-flops.
Nice.
And just get a really big pair, and then you can measure your kid's foot right with your flip-flops. I'm just saying it's not a
That's
good
a winning
idea.
That's a winning idea. Is there a podiatry day? Is there some kind of a seasonal approach to doing shoe measuring?
I don't know if podiatry is a seasonal business.
I feel like people listening to the podcast right now are fast forwarding just as quickly. All right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is promotional types.
Right.
So we've kind of we've talked about who your audience is and some different ways to decide what you want to promote. Now let's talk about the different ways or methods that you might use to promote those things.
Great. I'm going to add a couple things to your list here. So while you get started.
Sounds good. I mean, the first one is pretty obvious. It's a savings or a discount. And those take the place that's get 10% off if you come in before 5. The price was, car dealerships are famous for this, was $29,999. Now $29,995. It's some kind of a symbolic discount. So savings or discounts, probably the first and most common type of promotion.
I think an important thing about savings or discounts. I mean, there's a couple things about this. For one, savings or discount usually implies that the customer has an understanding of what it should cost, or I don't find that they're as effective.
That's good.
Right. So if you're going to say 10% off and a customer really would not know what this should cost, sometimes that's actually good or bad. It depends on how you're displaying it. But those are promotions that I find are particularly effective, but you have to make sure that the customer, understands or believes that it is a good deal.
Yeah. Or you have to really have to buy into the was-is concept. You have to build the value of what the price was before you discounted it to try to see if you can convince people that the higher number is the value. I will say that for all of these, but in particular for this one, man, you have got to know your numbers. If you don't know what things cost you and what it costs you to make, and what your overhead is, if you haven't done all that math, don't do any of this. Because what you don't want, and Mark Veal and I were talking about Groupon a little bit beforehand, is there was basically a tea shop that was open across the street from me for about 90 days. Now, they were doomed to failure to begin with because they were a tea shop, and this is kind of the college bar district. But one of the promotions that they did was a Groupon, and they did it for like the gift box, of teas that you would give people. And they didn't do their math. And I talked to the owner. He was losing money hand over fist because 100% of the people came in and just bought that, and they were losing $10 a pop. So don't get caught with that. If you don't know how much it costs you to make a shirt or embroider a hat or produce a sublimated tile or, whatever it is, then stop and do math and then come back.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like promotion, say a savings or discount promotion. I really like that for upsells. In our industry, if somebody is looking to complete an order of a bunch of t-shirts or a bunch of mugs, you can say, hey, by the way, I'm doing a promotion sale this month. If you add on embroidered hats, they're actually 10% off. So, and or whatever the number might be. And I find that that's a good way to upsell, is to offer something that you're promoting this month. And especially with the little savings, it's just a nice little thing to be able to add on to the end of that. Because you could try to upsell to a hat, but you can also say, hey, by the way, I have a sale going on right now. Any order over $200, you can get hats at 20% off. So huge savings, and everybody loves them. and it could work really well for you for upsells.
Yep. It works really well on shipping too. So, if you offer somebody, hey, you get free shipping if you get your order to $300, something like that's another kind of promotion type that allows you to do that.
Yeah. You had put on like some free upgrades, or add-ons, which I think are great too. That's if you spend up to this amount of money, I'll also put the logo on your right arm as well.
Yeah.
We'll add a second spot to it for free, which is normally we charge $8 for that.
So if you've got a business, which all of you listening to this probably do, where you are expecting your customer to have the potential for coming back and buying more, just keep in mind when you do any of these promotions, you're almost training them to expect this kind of behavior from you in the future. So if you do a lot of discounts, then it's very likely that they'll wait until you advertise a discount before they purchase again. You may be one of these people that only buys a certain item when it goes on sale. Like you won't buy hand soap unless you can get them like 5 for $1 from Bed Bath & Beyond or something. So you will literally never pay retail. They've trained their audience to only buy in this way. So, you have to be careful. So that goes for the savings or discounts. It goes for the free upgrade as well. But what I like about the free upgrade is you could be training them to buy something else from you.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's not necessarily bad to train folks to do that as long as it's profitable for you and you like doing the business.
And you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Hobby Lobby is a place that a lot of people love to shop, and they are big on the sale items. They put all the 4th of July stuff out like in the middle of the winter at retail, and they sell like 5 things. And then they put it all like 30 to 50% off right around this time, or maybe even starting a month ago. And they will sell out of that aisle 3 weeks before the holiday.
Yeah.
All those items are profitable at that price. Like they're in business for a long time because they are, and they don't mind that their customers wait for that. And their customers are happy to wait for that. And some people who really, really need the item early or really want to get that picture that there's only 3 of will pay a bunch of money extra in the beginning. But most of the customers are waiting for that deal, that coupon, that special. And they're perfectly fine with that.
And let me tell you, this goes directly to the avatar that you're talking to. I mean, if you are talking to the single mom, the electrician's assistant buying stuff for her daughter, maybe if that's a regular market for you, then maybe the discount is the only time she wants to buy. She feels better about buying, more responsible when she buys at a discount. So that could be just a built-in part of your business where if you're talking to that suburban couple that, maybe the discount isn't actually so important. It's just occasionally they want to get a good deal. You can get into the head a little bit of your customers by keeping those avatars in mind.
Yep. And you just say, is my avatar going to care about this promotion? Yeah. Will it get them excited? And sometimes you need to survey people or ask if your avatar is the suburban parents, then it's easy. Do you have friends in your neighborhood, neighbors? Just ask them.
Yeah.
Would you,
hey, you like better?
I have this business. Which one of these 3 sales or promotions sounds most interesting to you? Just ask them, see what they have to say. There's some other sales and promotion ideas we have in the show notes. So if you go to customapparelstartups.com and you go to episode 176, you'll see some more. But the last ones that I think to end with are just things that are just promotions and not on sale. And that is something that we mentioned before with the vapor apparel, a unique offering or a seasonally hot item or a fashionable item. And this is something that's not on sale, but you're going to promote it for whatever reason it might be. It's a brand new thing. It's a really interesting thing. It has a unique property to it that's different than anything else out or most stuff out there in the market, things like that. So you can promote, your higher end shirts like the Bella and Canvas as a promotion, right? Yep. That's a brand of shirt that a lot of people know. It has a semi-retail offering. I had somebody bring me one of those shirts. A mom handed me a shirt and said, "Hey, do you know those logos that you did that one time? Could you put one on this shirt? I got on mine." And she's like, "Will it work?" And I looked at it and it was a Bella. And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "This is a good brand. We use it." And she's like, "One of my favorite shirts whenever I want a plain t-shirt."
Yeah.
Right. So you can offer a brand like that to your customers and saying, this month's featured item, Belen Canvas V-neck tees, not because they're cheap, not because they're on sale, just because you're featuring them, because it's an item that might catch some attention.
Yeah. And the seasonally hot is a good approach too. Football season is coming up. So maybe if you're doing custom bleacher seats, I mean, you can look at anything that is hot right now, go out onto Coleman and Company, start scrolling through the blanks, and you'll definitely find something that will be appropriate.
Yep. Well, good. So now that we've got that done, next we need to talk about creating your message.
Right.
So what do you think about that? Do you have anything?
Yeah, just that, like, there are going to be parts to it.
Okay.
Right. It's just not, you've got to think about, you've already figured out what you want to promote. You've got to figure out why someone would want to make that purchase, and then how you're going to promote it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So what, why, and how. So if you use, for example, and I pilfered this from someone online. If you use your promotion is for a restaurant and it's a 50% discount on food or non-alcoholic drinks, for a particular day. So the what there that you're promoting is a 50% discount. So in the custom apparel, it might be a BOGO or a free hat or one of the many things that we talked about. The why is really important because in this case, it's local restaurant support. So why is somebody going to take advantage of this promotion? It could be something altruistic like, hey, we're just trying to boost local businesses. So you could say, hey, support your local t-shirt shop. We're giving a small discount. We really appreciate the business. So the why is because we're small and we want to sell more stuff. Right. And then the how would be, how do you take advantage of it? Eat out, order online.
That's great. That's great. And so it gets me thinking in our industry about that. And with the why, I want to add one more thing to it too. But what if we talk about, let's say that we're going to talk about the UV protection apparel, right? That's what we're going to.
I like that.
All right. Now, why? There's two whys in my opinion. Why are you going to do it? Why is your customer want it?
Right.
So why are you going to do it? Because you can those shirts are particularly profitable for you. They UV protection shirts still have a really high retail value. You can sublimate them or do transfers on them, which is not that expensive to create. So you have a nice profitable product that your customers will like. That's why it's good for you. Why is it good for them? And then you can pitch all the UV properties, right? You can wear a long sleeve shirt and you don't have to wear sunblock. It's great for kids. It's great for not getting sunburn. It's good for skin cancer, all these things. All right.
Yeah.
And then how are you going to do this? So how are you going to get folks to buy the shirts? And I think we can go into kind of publishing options next on that, right?
Yeah. So I just want to go back to our avatars again when you think about this stuff. So, the single mom, she might be interested in vapor apparel for herself or some related items for her daughter because it's sun protection. They're both really fair skinned and she wants to avoid sunburn and blisters. And she's very concerned about cancer because they are outside constantly. So vapor apparel is a good move. Why? Because now's the time. Summer's coming up. So if you want to get UV protection for outdoor wear, for beach days, for park days, for you and your daughter, for you and your kids, then vapor apparel is a good pick. And now's the time to do it. And how do you do that? It's easy. Just click this button and order, or pick up the phone and I'll talk to you about our special promotion.
Okay.
Right. And that's going to be completely different from our suburban couple
Uh-huh.
because for them, you're going to talk about, hey, these are the perfect polos to wear when you're playing golf. This is a great, why do you want to, I mean, you're going to look great. You can put your
Mhm.
own company name on the front, and it will save you from getting cancer.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And if it's for local business, the how might be to come to our store.
Yep.
It might be to call me and mention that you're looking for this, or order online if you have an online store.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Okay. I got that. And then the other part of how I was thinking about was, how are you going to let people know this exists?
Right.
Okay. So I guess there's a how for the customer. How are you going to let them know is your how, and their how is how, what do they do next to get this? Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you going to let them know, Mark?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's super important to tell them what to do inside the promotion.
Okay.
It's very important. We do a lot of Facebook ads,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a learn more button on it. So the people that press the learn more button get to get all their questions answered. Right. So we tell them to press that button. If we just want them to buy something, it's shop now and it goes to Coleman and Company. So it's very important that you tell somebody that you want them to come into the store, take advantage of it. You want them to print out and bring the coupon. You want them to click this button online and place your order before Tuesday. You've got to tell them specifically what you want them to do in order to take advantage of it. So, and how you publish it is going to influence that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you are going to send it out in an email, it's going to be significantly different than if you want to encourage them, than if you put up a billboard or you pass out a flyer.
Right. 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 So I think when it's just what the most important thing about publishing or promoting the promotion, getting the word out there, is just understanding your avatar. Where are they going to see it? How are you going to get it out to them? And preferably more than one channel.
Right.
Right. And what I mean by channel is more than one way. So if you have a small email list, you email it. Right. In the email, you ask for referrals, right? Forward this to someone who might be interested. So you're doing some referral marketing as well. You could, if you're doing the kind of suburban parents, you might want to advertise in some sort of a school newsletter, or if they have some sort of signage you can put up, or something like that. And you may want to physically make phone calls to your current customers. Right. So if you do it in multiple ways, that's going to ensure your success. And when you have a company like a large company, that it like Under Armour, when they came out, they grew big fast. Mm-hmm. They did ads everywhere. So they were promoting in email, they were promoting on social media, they were promoting on TV commercials, they were promoting in print ads, so you have to find what's the best way to reach your avatar.
Yeah. And that's going to be wildly different, or potentially wildly
yeah,
different.
Absolutely. And so you think of a few different ways, and some of those are going to be free. Some of those are going to cost money. You have to determine on what's worth it. Right. So if you're if you can spend a few $100s by getting a sign up that's at the entrance of the father-daughter dance at school, that might be a pretty worthwhile promotion for you, because you're going to have potentially hundreds of eyes of your exact avatar, parents involved in their kids that go to school, that will be walking right by it. Might be great to spend money on that.
Yeah.
Further, if you have an email list of all your customers, which hopefully you do, that's relatively free to send an email out to all your customers. And you should probably do both if this is your avatar in that example.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of different ways to promote it. You should never pick just one. Mm-hmm. Normally at ColDesi, you'll see we have a video. The promotion gets included in a weekly email. You might see it as a Facebook or Instagram ad. You could see something from us on TikTok on the same topic. If we get something that we're interested in selling and we really think it appeals to you listening right now who are our avatar, then we'll try to put it in front of you every place we can. And I think it's important to remember that if you go through this kind of thoughtful process, not, hey, I should put something on sale. What do I have?
Mm-hmm.
If you go through this thoughtful process, you'll build something that you're excited about and is potentially really profitable, and you'll have it mapped out enough where you can decide what channels that you want to put it through.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that overall we've gotten to a point now where you have created everything from your avatar all the way down to the promotion and how you're going to get it out. Right.
Yep.
And then the last step to it is just, you need to measure how the promotion works.
Yeah. You need to have a plan in place to measure how the promotion works before you launch the promotion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is, and it happens to us, is that if you ask someone in sales how many leads we got last week on embroidery machines, they will come up with an answer based on their most recent experience, right? They'll have an idea of how busy they are, right? It's your job as a business owner to actually count the number that came in. So it's to take a look at, okay, you've got this sale on vapor apparel with sublimation prints on them and picnic baskets. Then it's your responsibility to go, okay, how many calls did we get based on this ad? How many people filled out a form? How many people ordered online? I think it did really well, because I remember I talked to this one person that was really excited and they bought 2 shirts. And that will be your natural tendency if you don't have a plan to track it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The tricky part about tracking is you have to, if you're advertising the vapor apparel shirts to the suburban parents, and one way to look at it, that is the traditional way, and for folks who don't really who aren't in deep business thought or aren't in marketing or something like that, will say, well, how many vapor apparel shirts did you sell? And you'd say a little bit more. And then was it worth it? No, then I guess not. Yeah. Right. But the big but is, did you make other sales because of this promotion?
Right.
Did somebody call in and say, I want those UV protection shirts, and they started talking to you, and really what they want is embroidered polos when you really get into it, right? And you start that conversation. So then they buy 20 embroidered polos. They called you because of your promotion, and they came out with something else. Now, if what they sold, those embroidered polos, were profitable and a good sale, and you were happy to have done them, then this is still part of the success of that promotion.
Right.
Even though you didn't sell the promotional item. Now,
correct.
And there are things like, if you're trying to liquidate things in your store, right? And you can't liquidate them because they keep calling in to buy other things. It's interesting because, well, you still want to get rid of those things, but you're really happy to take this new business that this promotion is generating. So
it sounds like that's what. It sounds like that's why I drive by an Oriental rug store going out of business every day. And I have for 5 years. It's because they keep trying to go out of business, but people see other things in their store or online. And of course they continue to sell. But there are things that you should be keeping track of. And that is, how many sales did you generate? Like Mark Vila said, not how many sales of the items that were on sale. You should know that. But how much money did those promotions generate independent of the items that were purchased? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty close to wrapping this up then.
Let's do a few more measurement things before we do that, because I want to make sure that not only how much money you made, how many items you sold, what the revenue was, but you also know how much it cost you. So you keep track of, okay, I spent $500 on Facebook and Instagram, and I sold this amount of shirts and I made this much money, and it made or lost money.
Right.
And then, because the answer that you're looking for is, was this kind of promotion successful? Should I do it again?
Right. Should you do the same one? And then alternatively, should you do a completely different one or something similar? So you found that flip-flops got a lot of attention in the summertime. So then when the fall comes around, maybe you're going to talk about beanies or beanie caps or scarves, right? Because it's a similar promotion for a seasonal item. You may have found that that talking about a particular low price item generated the higher priced version of that, because when people came in, they realized, well, actually,
they wanted something
because
more.
of your salesmanship, they wanted something better, right? So so they call in for a free t-shirt, and then you upsell to the really nicer shirt. So maybe you continue that same exact type of promotion, but the item you try to upsell to changes.
Yeah.
So it's something that just grows and changes over time. You've got to, if you know the numbers, you'll know which ones work. And you can't, the last thing I want to say on that is you just can't give up if the first one doesn't work.
Man, I was just going to say that, like, promotions work.
Yeah.
I just want to say that promotions work. It's one of the main reasons why most people do them. Right. So knowing that promotions work, even if the first two that you try fail, keep trying and you'll find one that will be successful. As long as you have all the stuff that we've talked about today in place, who you're talking to, because a promotion might fail for a variety of reasons. It could be it was a terrible deal. Could be it wasn't the right product or the right time of year. It could be you weren't talking to your avatar right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing is there's a bit of trust and time in all sales and promotion and advertising and marketing of your business. So if you have a brand new business and you're promoting a really good deal, or whether it's a sale or whatever it might be, or a featured item, and in the beginning it doesn't really pop off very well, or you didn't sell any of them. But if you've only been in business 3 months, this is the first time anyone's ever seen you promote something.
Yeah.
They might not buy that first time. So you do a second one, and you do a third one, and you continue on the path. And a year from now, you may see that the promotions really kick off every season that you launch them, because you've been seeding the idea to these people over time that this company has interesting ideas. This company has interesting items. They have good deals. They always have a good deal on something. Therefore, I'm going to go to them when I need these hat maids, because I've seen them around enough to know that they're a local business that offers a good product.
Yeah. I love that.
I think it's what I like about promotions. My last thought is, whether it's a sale or not, doesn't matter, is that one of the hardest things to do, and the problem that I have in marketing, is people don't want to communicate or fear communicating to the masses because they don't have anything to say. Right? Yeah. I don't send out, what am I going to email about? What am I going to tell them about? Right? So promotions are what you tell them about. And it doesn't have to be a sale. So you pick a product you like a lot, you have you pick your how and why and all that good stuff, and then you tell people about it. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's a great way to just talk to people about your business, because you're going to take a product and dissect all the great stuff about it and then share it and say, here's one. By the way, I'm going to tell you about another one. I'm going to tell you about another one. I'll tell you about another one. And then it generates business over time.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to copy this podcast in episode 177. We're just going to change the name to things to talk to your customers about.
Yeah. Things to talk to your customers about is hard. We know that. We've been dealing with it for years. How do you talk about embroidery, right? And we always find new and interesting ways to do it, right? And we have to. And I think that if you go through these steps, and if you're intimidated by the idea, you start simple, right? Start, like, pick your favorite thing and just talk about it on the phone with people that you talk to and in person when you introduce people, right? What do you do for business? I do this. Actually, I'll just want to run it by you. I've been featuring these new shirts. I'm really excited about it, and just tell them about it. And then the person will say, cool. thanks. And then you just start doing it and it's an interesting thing to talk about for your business. And it's one of the best free ways to get going. You know what I mean?
I love it. All right. I think that is plenty for people to digest. This has been Mark Stevenson.
And Mark Vila.
And Mark Vila, king of the pregnant pause. Hope you guys have a great business.